The training chamber buzzed with quiet tension. Cadets, scaled, feathered, plated, or draped in iridescent hides, stood in neat rows, awaiting the instructor's command. The instructor, a towering figure with a voice like a blade on stone, stepped to the center. "Today," he declared, "you prove your mettle. Construct a weapon. Use only what's in this room." The alien cadets exchanged knowing looks, claws twitching, eyes glinting as their pupils adjusted to the shifting light. To them this was routine, a test of channeling energy, forging alloys or summoning biotech. A soft chuckle rippled from the back. Someone muttered, loud enough to be heard, "What's a human going to do? Swing a fork?" Kael Varn sat 3 rows behind the speaker, forearms resting on his knees, hands still, head slightly lowered. He didn't react. He didn't need to. The instructor's face remained impassive as he waved for them to start. The room exploded into motion. A Silvix cadet hissed, claws sweeping over the floor, weaving glowing arcs in the air as their innate, electrokinesis-shaped plasma into a shimmering blade. It crackled, sending faint blue sparks dancing across the walls. Nearby, a Talon cadet knelt, murmuring to a small seed from their kit. It sprouted rapidly, twisting into a writhing bioform that hardened into a venomous stinger, its toxin sacs pulsing faintly as it bonded to the Talon's arm. A hulking quadruped from the Kari region approached the instructor's bench with reverence, using its rear limbs to mold the reinforced alloy into a broad hammerhead. Vibrational nodes hummed along its edges, sending tremors through the floor. The chamber thrummed with danger, energy twisting in elegant spirals, stingers hissing with biochemical precision, blades whispering like echoes of forgotten wars. Each cadet infused their creation with tradition, memory, identity. Their weapons were extensions of themselves. Kael hadn't stirred. His forearms stayed on his knees, one finger tapping lightly against his uniform seam. His gaze tracked each cadet's work, but his face betrayed nothing. Only when the last alien stepped back, their weapon raised or glowing at their side, did he rise. A few turned to watch. One snorted. Another muttered in their tongue, roughly translating to, "He's giving up." Kael approached the front, empty-handed. He stopped by a simple chair, standard issue wood composite with steel braces. He crouched beside it. Some aliens lost interest, their intricate weapons demanding attention, but a few lingered, curiosity piqued. Kael gripped the chair's front leg and pulled sharply. The snap echoed like a rifle shot. Several cadets flinched. One dropped a tool. The Kumari's hammer stilled mid-hum. Kael held the broken leg, its jagged end pointed outward. He sat cross-legged, lowered the tip to the floor, and began scraping slow, deliberate strokes. The grating sound of wood on ceramic filled the air, steady, unhurried. The instructor turned, eyes narrowing but silent. "What's he doing?" a Silvix whispered. "Sharpening," a Talon replied. "Like a beast." Kael worked until the jagged edge was sleeker, cruder than a factory blade but sharp enough to pierce. He stood holding the chair leg loosely, stance relaxed. He looked neither proud nor defiant, just prepared. Without a word, he faced the reinforced training dummy at the room's far end, built from plastic steel alloy to resist plasma, acid, and force. The Kumari's hammer had barely scratched it earlier. Kael adjusted his grip, feet set apart. Then he threw. The makeshift spear spun once, twice, and struck with a deafening thud. Splinters scattered. The chair leg buried itself a quarter meter into the dummy's chest, the internal metal frame groaning from the impact. The room fell silent. No one moved. Some still clutched their weapons. Others let them droop, all eyes fixed on the vibrating spear. The instructor approached, inspecting the dummy, then Kael, then the spear. He tapped his data pad. "Note," he said aloud. "Humans don't rely on tech. Anything can be a weapon." The silence grew heavier, pressing against the skin. The Silvix who'd crafted the plasma blade approached the dummy stiffly, gripped the spear with both hands, and pulled. Nothing. He tried again, then a third time, using his lower arms for leverage. Still nothing. Kael spoke, voice low. "Angle's off." It splintered going in. The Silvix paused, then stepped back. The instructor faced Kael. "What's that called?" Kael shrugged. "A spear. Back home, kids make them when they're bored." No one spoke. The bioweapons dimmed. The plasma blades flickered. The hammer rested quietly on the floor. The chair spear stayed lodged in the dummy for the rest of the day. That night, past curfew, a security drone near Dormitory Hall C recorded silent footage. Kael Varn sat barefoot on his bed, humming softly, carving a bunk post against a flattened steel cup. He tested the edge with his thumb, nodded, and the drone zoomed in, capturing every detail. The footage would be reviewed later. The chair spear became a problem. At first it was a novelty, an oddity from a soft-world species, but the instructor left it in place. Days passed, 3, then 4. The dummy stood in the training hall's center, hunched from the impact, the wooden shaft jutting like a challenge. Each morning, the splinters caught the artificial light. No one tried to remove it after the Silvix's failure. By week's end, cadets hesitated at the hall's entrance, some avoiding the dummy's gaze, others staring too long. On the 7th day, a Tinyakai cadet lingered outside the hall, his dormant bioweapon pulsing faintly around his wrist. Kael was already inside, seated at the back, notebook in hand, not writing, just thinking. His eyes flicked to the Tinyakai, then back to the page. The spear wasn't just a weapon anymore. It was a symbol. Most cadets came from worlds where weapons were forged through ritual or neural tech. The idea that a chair leg could become deadly was unsettling. Worse, Kael hadn't made it a performance. He'd done it like it was nothing. The next task was a team exercise. Form triads, the instructor said. Mixed species, mixed skills. In the field, you don't pick your squad. Kael was paired with the Tinyakai, named Zykar, and a Kumari named Tharok. Neither looked pleased. The mission: breach and clear a simulation chamber as a hostile threat team. They received dummy weapons, plastic replicas of standard gear. Kael's was a training baton. He didn't mind. The chamber was a labyrinth of synthetic walls, dim lights and echoing corridors. The objective: retrieve a hostage beacon at the center. The instructor added variables: shifting walls, sound traps, and 2 rival cadet teams. Stay close, Kael said, checking corners, baton low. See everything. Don't wait for orders. Tharok grunted but complied. Zykar extended a sensor vine from his wrist, tasting the air. Kael moved with purpose, not grace, every step efficient. Halfway through, they met another team, scaled insectoids, with dual stun wands and a feathered Elikari scaling the walls. The fight was simulated, no injuries, just tags and penalties. Tharok swung wide, was flanked, and tagged out in seconds. Zykar's symbiote fired paint pulses, scoring hits before he was cornered. Kael didn't fall back. He slammed into a wall, vanished briefly, and returned with a broken panel. He didn't wield it as a weapon, but as a tool, deflecting, feinting. When a stunner wielder aimed, Kael hurled the panel like a disc, knocking the arm aside, then closed in to tag both out. In debriefing, their team scored low for survival, but high for disruption. Kael wiped sweat from his arms. Zykar watched him. Why not use the baton, he asked. Kael glanced up. It's not the tool. It's the moment. The baton wasn't right for that. Zykar's mandibles shifted. Your world doesn't use neural sync. You weren't trained for this. Kael shrugged. We've had wars. Not like yours, but enough. He stretched, a rib popping loudly. Zykar flinched. You hurt? Just bruised, Kael said, wincing. Tharok clipped me. I'll get it checked. The medbay confirmed a mild intercostal strain and a hematoma. Rest, the tech said, handing him a gel pack and wrap. No heavy activity for 5 days, maybe more. Kael nodded, followed orders, and returned to his dorm. That night, faint scraping echoed from his room. Slow, deliberate, he was shaping another piece of wood despite the injury. Zykar stopped by. You're carving again. Just shaping, Kael said. Not throwing. Why do it? Zykar asked. Kael set the wood aside. If I can shape something with my hands, I'm not powerless. Zykar studied the jagged edge under the desk light. Your kind turned survival into instinct. We trained for it. Kael said nothing. The next day, a notice appeared on the cadet hub. Unauthorized alteration of academy property is prohibited. No names, but everyone knew. The spear's impact lingered. Cadets still trained, still boasted about their tech, but their casual dismissal of Kael faded. They watched him, extra seconds of silence when he entered, conversations dipping as he passed. He wasn't feared, but he was unplaceable. No neural implants, no phase blades, no symbiotes, yet dangerous not in strength but in mindset. 3 days later, Tharok was hospitalized, non-combat, a gravity drill mishap fracturing his carapace plates. He'd be out for weeks. Kael visited, bringing broth the Kumari couldn't taste. He sat quietly, offering presents. When he left, a young Lakari cadet, Farron, stopped him. Why bother? Tharok didn't thank you. Don't need thanks, Kael said. He called you reckless after the spear, primitive. Kael nodded. People talk when they're scared. Farron's feathers tightened. Scared of you? Of what I am, Kael said, glancing toward the training hall. The Academy Directorate took notice. Kael's file was updated repeatedly. Psych evaluations, monitoring logs flagging his carving as strategic concern. He wasn't punished, just observed. The mid-semester rotation brought open terrain drills. Kael was grouped with Farron and a Danaki scout. When they were dropped into the Rexus range, jagged cliffs, biting winds, low-gravity pockets. Their goal? Locate a signal beacon, extract a payload, and evade scout drones. Vren led, his biolenses scanning. Farron hopped between cliffs, riding thermals. Kael ran point on the ground, not fast but alert. A fault line shifted unexpectedly. The cliff beneath Kael collapsed. He didn't scream, just fell. The ground swallowed him. Vren dove after, catching only debris. Farron circled, scanning. Kael hit a slope, then another. The final drop twisting his ankle grotesquely. Pain hit in waves, his wrist throbbing, breathing shallow. He laughed, not from humor but from the irony of cliffs. Farron's voice crackled through comms. Kael, you there? Breathing, he rasped. Ankles shot. Maybe wrist too. Can't move. We're coming, Vren said. Negative, Kael replied. Get the beacon. I'll slow you. They hesitated. When the comms went silent, Kael scanned the crevice. Steep, not deep. Debris littered the slope. Stone, mineral rods, a rusted surveillance post. He dragged himself toward it, wrist screaming, injured leg trailing. From the post, he salvaged a metal strip, twisted wire, a broken antenna. He fashioned a brace, not a weapon, wrapping it around his ankle until the pain dulled. Then he climbed. It was grueling. Arms hauled his weight, bad leg dangling, palms bleeding. An hour later, he reached the ledge. Vren was there. You shouldn't have moved, the Danaki said, pulling him up. Wasn't dying down there, Kael gritted out. They sheltered near a thermal vent. Vren's medkit numbed the swelling, but Kael wouldn't walk for weeks. Back at the academy, the diagnosis was a torn ankle ligament, a hairline wrist fracture, and rib bruising. 2 weeks off duty, 4 before full recovery. Kael followed every order. By day 5, he used a crutch. He avoided the training hall, but one evening, he noticed a note taped to the dummy. Nothing in human hands is harmless. He stared, then limped away. That night, he didn't carve. The pain taught him patience. Kael adhered to rehab, ankle elevated. Wrist braced, mobility sessions twice daily. Week 1, no weight on the leg. Week 2, he hobbled between bars. Week 3, he ditched the crutch for short walks. His climb out of the crevice spread among the cadets, not the injury, but the ascent. Aliens who'd mocked him now watched with wary respect. He'd climbed without tech, bleeding and broken. When he returned to the training hall, his limp lingered, wrist still wrapped. The instructor eyed him. Cleared for duty? Yesterday, Kael said. No sprinting or heavy lifting. The instructor pointed to the combat dummies. Kael ignored the weapon racks, energy sticks, plasma batons, biopacks. He picked a loose bench slat from the repair pile. The room froze. He knelt, sharpening the slat against the floor. Slower this time, the edge cleaner. He didn't throw it. He faced the dummy, jabbed lightly, 2 inches deep. No splinters, just a soft thunk. Good enough, he murmured. Later, Zykar approached. You're not proving anything now. Wasn't before, Kael said, sipping water. Then why? Zykar asked. Kael glanced at the spear. Ever hear of Elias Wren? Rural kid, old Earth, lost in the wild at 12. No gear, no comms. Survived 5 days on insects, boiled bark. Carved a spear from a fence post to fend off predators. Zykar's mandibles twitched. A myth? Maybe, Kael said. Doesn't matter. We grow up on stories like that. Not about glory, about enduring. You're still limping, Zykar noted. For now, Kael said. The Academy hosted an interspecies combat seminar. Cadets could present a homeworld tactic. Kael didn't volunteer, but the instructor called him. He limped to the platform, picked up a drill chair. The room hushed. He set it down and sat. Where I'm from, he began, we don't always have good tools. Sometimes none. But we learn early, adapt or die. He spoke of scouts, miners, medics, people who made stretchers from rails. Boiled water in cans, splinted limbs with sticks. He snapped off a chair leg, passed it around. Each cadet held it differently. Farron handed it back. Not as sharp as the first. Didn't need to be, Kael said. No applause, just thought. That night, a mess hall chair vanished. And Lakari cadet was seen carving its leg behind the arboretum, mimicking Kael's motions. When Kael's limp faded, when his brace came off, when he ran a lap, no one spoke. But they watched. In the final mock siege, teams scrambled for resources. Energy weapons failed, symbiotes fled. Kael's team used tent poles and tarp hooks. They passed not by winning, but by enduring. The dummy with the spear was retired, but the spear was mounted near the academy entrance, labeled, improvised, effective, human. Kael rarely visited it, but on quiet nights, he'd pause, not to relive, but to remind himself there was always something to use, even a broken chair.